Good morning, everyone. May the 4th be with you. I am very excited to see you this morning. We have a few things we're going to get to today, and it's going to be a little bit different than what we have been doing. So we're still going to talk about our Lexia stars, and I do want to talk a little bit about Bud, not Buddy, but I have a change there that you have to pay attention to. And then we're going to get into some grammar, and of course, well, I'll save the surprise for later. So this week's star for Lexia, the champion who got 19 units, is none other than Trace. Great job, Trace. You killed it. Awesome, awesome. Keep it up. We have a couple other kids who are also contenders, and I'm going to tell you about them. So you guessed it. Here are our new contenders for the week. We have none other than Brennan. Brennan had 13 units this week, so good job, Brennan. And we also have Marquise. Marquise is doing a great job. So Marquise has 12 units this week. Great job, Marquise. Let's keep up the good work, you guys. I'm so proud of you. Hi, everyone. So if you are wondering why I'm dressed like this, I am Medusa. And Medusa is my favorite Greek myth. She was actually a beautiful woman when she first started out, but she was really vain, and she thought she was more beautiful than the goddess Athena. And the place in this picture, this is actually me and my sister. That is me right there when I was about 20, and that is my sister Amy. And we went to Athens in Greece. We were with, my dad took this picture. We were with my dad, and we went to Athens, and there's this beautiful temple there. You can actually see on the temple, there's all these statues for the gods and goddesses. Well, this woman Medusa went there way back thousands of years ago, and she saw this whole temple here built for Athena, and she said it was ugly. She said that she was more beautiful than that. And Athena heard her and actually turned her into this monster, Medusa. But I kind of like Medusa's hairdo, I have to say. But Medusa was kind of cursed, and anybody who looked at her would turn into stone. Any man who looked at her, and she was sent to the ends of the earth to live by herself for eternity because she had been so vain and so awful. And that's a great myth. I would encourage all of you to go read about it. Find your own myth that you like, that you can identify with, and we're going to be reading another one together in a little bit. We've been reading the story Bud, Not Buddy, and I do have it read aloud for you guys on our class website, MissDressersClass.com. And our Google question is based off of that story, but I'm only seeing a couple kids responding to the Google question and only a couple kids reading the book, which makes me really sad. I think maybe the book might be too hard for you. I'm not sure. I'm going to continue having the audio version of it on our website. I think part of the problem with Bud, Not Buddy, is that you guys saw some words you didn't know and just got scared and just thought maybe it was too hard and you kind of gave up on it. It is a little bit of a longer book, but what I want you to do is really love running into new words. I love it when I'm reading a book and I don't know a word or I don't know something, because there are ways to find it out. You can figure it out from looking around. You can figure it out from breaking it down. And that's what we're going to be looking at today, is what to do when you see a word you don't know. A lot of times the answer is going to be right in front of you. And authors obviously want you to read their writing, so if they're giving you a tricky word, they're probably going to explain what it means. So there are a couple ways to attack that. If you look around that paragraph or you look around that sentence, there might actually be an explanation right there. But how do you know if it's right there? How do you know the answer's coming? So that comma tells you there's an appositive coming. And an appositive is just a definition or an explanation that an author puts in the writing. It's there to help you out. So when you see that comma, you know that help is on the way. There's an appositive or an explanation that's about to happen. We're going to take an example from today's myth. And today's myth is victory. Victoria always accompanied Minerva, the goddess of wisdom and war, and she was so little that she could fit into Minerva's hand. You want to look at where the author put commas in that sentence. So the commas you can see are right after Minerva, and then it says the goddess of wisdom and war, and then there's another comma. Well, that tells you that's the explanation of what Minerva is. The author doesn't expect you to know Minerva, so they tell us that was the goddess of wisdom and war. That's there to help you. So in this sentence, this is the sentence we're doing for grammar this week. You're going to look for, now this one doesn't have the commas. You have to figure out where we should put those commas. Where would you put a comma that's going to help the reader understand this information better? All right, guys, so for this week, we are going to be looking for that context, that little piece of the sentence that tells us more about what's happening. So for instance, this is our first sentence. It says, the program was produced in Portuguese, George's native language. There's a lot of problems with this sentence, and right off the bat, when we're checking sentences, we know that these sentences all have to start with a capital letter. So I'm going to change that to an uppercase T. The program was produced in Portuguese, George's native language, and I know it has to end with a period. Okay, those are the easy ones. Now I got a couple other things going on in here. I have a name in here. The name that I need to capitalize is George, so I'm going to put a big G there. So the program was produced in Portuguese, George's native language, and I need to capitalize Portuguese. So what the author did here, the person who wrote this sentence, is they gave us a little bit more information about something that might be kind of confusing. So we know the program was produced, we know all those words. The program was produced in Portuguese, George's native language. They're actually telling us a little bit more about Portuguese. And because they're about to tell us more about Portuguese, or why that's even important, the author, the writer, is going to put a comma here. That tells the reader that this is going to give you a little bit more information. So the program was produced in Portuguese, George's native language. And that just separates that out so that we know this sentence would have been fine. The program was produced in Portuguese. But the person who wrote the sentence wants us to know a little bit more about Portuguese and why that's important. So that's why that comma is going to go there, and they're going to give you more information. So for the bottom one, this one says, can I buy a shirt for my favorite team, the Chicago Bears? So again, we're going to check. We have to start with a capital letter. And this is actually a question. So it's asking permission. Can I do something? So at the end of this, I have to put a capital letter or question mark. Sorry. Can I buy a shirt for my favorite team, the Chicago Bears? There's also a name in here. I know Chicago is the name of a city, so I have to capitalize that. And they're actually talking about a team. So this is the name of a team. It's not just the Chicago. It's the Chicago Bears. So you have to capitalize the entire name. Just like the Red Sox, you have to capitalize the red and the Sox. Whatever the entire name of the team is, you have to capitalize it. And then, of course, the most important one, you better ever, never, never, never forget to capitalize this, is the word I. It is a tiny little word, but it is super important. It's talking about you, and it's treating I. It's like your name. Can I buy a shirt for my favorite team, the Chicago Bears? Okay, where am I going to put my comma here? Where is the author giving us a little bit more information? So you remember, this is going to be almost like a sentence that stands by itself, except the author adds a little piece more. Can I buy a shirt for my favorite team? This sentence could have stopped right here, but the author decides to tell us who that favorite team is. So I'm actually going to put a comma right here. That tells the reader that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this team. So can I buy a shirt for my favorite team, comma, the Chicago Bears? So that's called an appositive, where you put a little comma there and give us some more information. Put a little comma and give us some more information. This is a great thing to do when you're trying to explain something that's a little bit confusing. It's also really good if there are vocabulary words you don't really know. So sometimes when you're reading a story or an article, there might be some words there that you don't know. If you see that little comma, that tells you that the answer or the explanation is coming. So don't freak out, don't run away. You're about to hear some more information. But what if you're reading and there's no comma and you don't know what to do? Don't worry.
Break it down.
If you see a word you don't know, just break it apart. Split it into different syllables and see if you know some of those word pieces, because you probably do. And that's what we're doing in Ready Common Core this week. You're doing lesson 17, page 496. We're going to be looking at Greek and Latin word parts. So Greek word parts you guys are going to learn from studying Greek mythology. A lot of the words we know come from those actual myths way back in the day. And a lot of the other word parts come from the Latin languages or Romance languages, which is what Spanish is and Portuguese and Italian. If you speak any of those languages, it's going to be easier because you probably know some of these word pieces already. So let's look at some of these more closely. So the root of the word is kind of the base, and that's what that word is built off of. You know the word graph, like a photograph or a graphic novel. Viz or vid is also, that's a root word. You guys are watching right now a video. That means you're seeing something. Phone or phonograph, that's a sound or a voice. So you guys are going to be looking at these root words, and then you're going to see what they mean. That's going to help you break apart words you don't know. And there's also prefixes and suffixes. So the root is kind of the base of it, and then you can think of a prefix and a suffix as like the branch that's coming off of a word. So prefixes go in front of those word roots. So auto is one of them. That means self. You can think of an automobile or automatic. And then a suffix comes at the end of it. So able is one you see a lot. So capable or believable, that just means that you can do it. You're able to do something or capable. So look around when you see words that have that A-B-L-E, you're going to know that that means you can do it. So what about these three words? Astronaut, astronomy, astrology. What do you think that word root astro stands for? Stop, think, jot, and then press play. How about these three words? Telephone, microphone, saxophone. What do you think that phone means? Can you think of any other words that have phone? So the Greek myth we're going to be studying today is victory. And victory means defeat of an enemy or opponent or triumph. So that word root goes all the way back to Greek mythology. Even though the goddess Victoria was tiny, her power was immense. Victoria always accompanied Minerva, the goddess of wisdom and war, and she was so little that she could fit into Minerva's hand. Sometimes when Minerva was on her way to a battle, she would scoop up Victoria in her hand and carry her, but most of the time the little goddess sped along by herself, her wings beating so fast that they were nearly invisible. As soon as she reached a battleground, Victoria set to work. First, she flew to one side and listened in on the conversations of the generals and the soldiers. Then she hastened to the other side to hear their talk and reasons for war. Only when she fully understood who fought for a fair and just cause did she act. Then she quickly dove down and guided the horses and the spears of the men she championed, making sure that they won. Sometimes other gods and goddesses would become involved in war by helping their favorite heroes. They didn't care who was fighting for a just cause, so if Victoria was absent, it was impossible to be certain which side would win. Only when Victoria was present at the battle would the righteous side be sure to triumph. If Victoria was with them, the soldiers could always feel it. Their bodies grew stronger, their thinking became sharper, and their strategy improved. With her help, a small army could conquer a larger one. Upon returning from war, the triumphant generals and warriors always offered thanksgiving and sacrifices to tiny Victoria. And so, in time, her name became synonymous with winning, and not just on the battlefield, but in every kind of competition. And that's what you're going to be writing about this week. So your Google assignment for this week is to write about a victory you experienced. This can be in your life, like finishing Lexia units, or it can be with a game you played, like soccer or boxing. It can even be about a video game. Make sure you use the word victory in your story. It needs to be 5 sentences long, and you can even make up a story. If you want to make up something about gods or some sort of combat or something, you can do that as long as you explain what the victory was and you use that word victory. I look forward to reading your stories.